Hello, I'm Sheryl, and this is Sleep Tight Relax, a bedtime podcast for the young and young at heart. If you are enjoying the podcast and would like to show your support, then we would love for you to check out Sleep Tight Premium. Not only would your support help us to continue producing the show, but our premium feed is all about supporting your sleep time routine. For September, we are offering 50% off all our plans for the first 3 months and 50% off our already discounted yearly plan. Check out sleeptightpremium.com or follow the link in our show notes. Thank you. Our sleep story is the second chapter of the Boxcar Children. Last episode, the kids decided they didn't like the plans that the baker's wife was making for them, so they decided to run away. They gathered a few things and set off during the night and walked until sunrise, when they found a haystack to sleep in. In this episode, we are going to see if they will be found. They had a great sleep in the hay, and they now realize that no one knows they are there, so they are safe for now. When nighttime comes, they start walking again, not sure where they should go next, until they hear someone talking and realize which way they need to go. But before we continue with our story, let's start by breathing together. We can practice our deep breathing anytime or anywhere. But before bed, let's first turn down the lights, get comfortable, and make sure that everything feels as it should. We are going to do a series of deep, slow breaths. When you breathe in, be sure to slowly breathe through your nose, and when you breathe out, try to push all the air out of your lungs. We often talk about taking belly breaths or filling your belly up like a balloon. If that helps you visualize the kind of breath to take, then please try. You can use whatever works for you. Now, inhale slowly through your nose and count to 4 in your head, filling your lungs with more air with each number. Hold your breath and count to 4 in your head, and slowly exhale through your mouth, focusing on getting all the air out of your lungs. Take your time and focus on slow, controlled, deep breaths. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that again. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Perfect. You can continue to practice your deep breathing as we continue with the Boxcar Children, Chapter 2, The Second Night. The roosters crowed and the hens clucked. The farmer's wife began to get breakfast, and the 4 children slept on. Lunchtime came and went, and still they slept. For you must remember that they had been awake and walking during the whole night. In fact, it was nearly 7 o'clock in the evening when they awoke. Luckily, all the others woke before Benny. "Can you hear me, Jess?" said Henry, speaking very low through the wall of hay. "Yes," answered Jess softly. "Let's make one big room of our nests." No sooner said than done. The boy and girl worked quickly and quietly until they could see each other. They pressed the hay back firmly until they had made their way into Violet's little room. And then she, in turn, felt around until she found Benny. "Hello, little Cinnamon," whispered Violet playfully. And Benny at once made up his mind to laugh instead of cry. But laughing out loud was almost as bad. So Henry took his little brother on the hay beside him and talked to him seriously. "You are old enough now, Benny, to understand what I say to you. So listen. When I tell you to keep still after this, that means you are to stop crying if you are crying, or stop laughing if you are laughing, and be just as still as you possibly can. If you don't listen, we will be in danger. Do you understand?" "Do I have to mind Jess and Violet too?" asked Benny. "Absolutely," said Henry. "You have to mind us all. Every one of us." Benny thought for a minute. "Can't I ask for what I want anymore?" he said. "Indeed you can," cried Jess and Henry together. "What is it you want?" "I'm awfully hungry," said Benny anxiously. Henry's brow cleared. "Good old Benny," he said. "We're just going to have supper. Or is it breakfast?" Jess drew out the fragrant loaf of bread. She cut it with Henry's jackknife into 4 quarters, and she and Henry took the 2 crusty ends themselves. "That's because we have to be the strongest, and crusts make you strong," explained Jess. Violet looked at her older sister. She thought she knew why Jess took the crust, but she did not speak. "We will stay here until dark, and then we'll go on with our journey," said Henry cheerfully. "I want a drink," announced Benny. "A drink you shall have," Henry promised, "but you'll have to wait till it's really dark. If we should creep out to the brook now, and anyone saw us—" He did not finish his sentence, but Benny realized that he must wait. He was much refreshed from his long sleep and felt very lively. Violet had all she could do to keep him amused, even with Cinnamon Bear and his 5 brothers. At last, Henry peeped out. It was after 9 o'clock. There were lights in the farmhouse still, but they were all upstairs. "We can at least get a drink now," he said, and the children crept quietly to the noisy little brook not far from the haystack. "Cup," said Benny. "No, you'll have to lie down and drink with your mouth," Jess explained, and so they did. Never did water taste so cool and delicious as it did that night to the thirsty children. When they had finished drinking, they jumped the brook, ran quickly over the fields to the wall, and once more found themselves on the road. "If we meet anyone," said Jess, "we must all crouch behind bushes until he has gone by." They walked along in the darkness with light hearts. They were no longer tired or hungry. Their one thought was to get away from their grandfather, if possible. "If we can find a big town," said Violet, "won't it be better to stay in than a little town?" "Why?" asked Henry, puffing up the hill. "Well, you see, there are so many people in a big town, nobody would notice us. And in a little village, everyone would be talking about us," finished Henry admiringly. "You've got brains, Violet." He had hardly said this when a wagon was heard behind them in the distance. It was coming from town. Without a word, the 4 children sank down behind the bushes like frightened rabbits. They could plainly hear their hearts beat. The horse trotted nearer and then began to walk up the hill. "If we hear nothing in the next town," they heard a man say, "we have plainly done our duty." It was the baker's voice. "More than our duty," said the baker's wife, "tiring out a horse with going a full day, from morning until night." There was silence as the horse pulled the creaky wagon. "At least we will go on to this coming town tonight," continued the baker, "and tell them to watch out. We need not go to the next town, for they could never walk that far." "We are well rid of them, I should say," replied his wife. "They may not have come this way. The milkman did not see them, did he?" The baker's reply was lost, for the horse had reached the hilltop where he broke into a canter. It was some minutes before the children dared to creep out of the bushes again. "One thing is for sure," said Henry when he caught his breath. "We will not go to this town ahead. And we will go to the next one," said Jess. With a definite goal in mind at last, the children set out again with a better spirit. They walked on until 2 o'clock in the morning, stopping often this time to rest and to drink from the horses' watering troughs. And then they came upon a fork in the road with a white signpost shining in the moonlight. "Townsend, 4 miles. Intervale, 6 miles," read Henry aloud. "Anybody feel able to walk 6 more miles?" He grinned. No one had the least idea how far they had already walked. "We'll go that way at least," said Jess finally. "That we will," agreed Henry, picking up his brother for a change and carrying him piggyback. Violet went ahead. The new road was a pleasant, woody one, with grass growing in the middle. The children could not see the grass, but they could feel it as they walked. "Not many people pass this way, I guess," remarked Violet. Just then, she caught her toe in something and almost fell, but Jess caught her. The two girls stooped down to examine the obstruction. "Hey," said Jess. "Hey," repeated Violet. "Hey," said Henry, coming up. "What did you say?" "It must have fallen off somebody's load," said Jess. "We'll take it with us," Henry decided wisely. "Load on all you can carry, Jess." "Or Benny," thought Violet to herself. So the odd little party trudged on for nearly 3 hours, laden with hay, until they found that the road ended in a cart path through the woods. "Oh dear," exclaimed Jess, almost ready to cry with disappointment. "What's the matter?" demanded Henry in astonishment. "Isn't the woods a good place to sleep? We can't sleep on the road, you know." "It does seem nice and far away from people," admitted Jess, "and it's almost morning." As they stood still at the entrance to the woods, they heard the rumble of a train. It roared down the valley at a great rate and passed them on the other side of the woods, thundering along toward the city. "Never mind the train either," remarked Henry. "It isn't so awfully near, and even if it were, it couldn't see us." He set his brother down and peered into the woods. It was very warm. "Listen," said Benny. "Listen," echoed Violet. "More water," Benny cried, catching his big brother by the hand. "It is only another brook," said Henry with a thankful heart. "He wants a drink." The trickle of water sounded very pleasant to all the children as they lay down once more to drink. Benny was too sleepy to eat. Jess quickly found a dry spot thick with moss between 2 stones. Upon this moss, the 3 older children spread the hay in the shape of an oval bed. Benny tumbled into it with a great sigh of satisfaction, while the sisters tucked the hay around him. "Pine needles up here, Jess?" called Henry from the slope. Each of them quickly scraped together a fragrant pile for a pillow and once more lay down to sleep with hardly a thought of fear. "I only hope we won't have a thunderstorm," said Jess to herself as she shut her tired eyes. And she did not open them for a long time, although the dark gray clouds piled higher and more thickly over the sleeping children. And that is the end of this chapter. Sleep tight.